Hi everyone, I'm Alison and I'm really glad to have the opportunity to talk to you about my piece in this year's Quilt National, Abstract Landscape Textures. Even without landscape in the title, I really hope it suggests to you the different layers in the Earth's crust of different rock types, different compositions, and the rounded cone shapes, beehive shapes, I hope suggest to you the mountains and hills, the way that children very often express them, and very often primitive ancient people did so too. They're what I call primal shapes. I became very interested in textile art as a child, born straight after the Second World War, going to starting school in the early 50s. Australian girls in particular were taught at school and at home hand sewing, embroidery, dressmaking, and sort of household sewing, knitting and crochet. And I was very good at all those things, even at an early age. However, by the time I got to the end of my second year secondary school, I let those subjects go because of the pressure to take up more academic subjects. And at university I studied geography. I was really always interested in physical geography and geomorphology, which is the study of earth shapes and structures and the processes that cause them to be as they are. In answering papers and so on and in studying, I had the great need to draw what I was talking about in simple diagrams, and I still draw diagrams to this day. That's what I do to plan a work of art. Today I do a lot of my work is in grids, although this landscape abstract textures isn't in grids. However, it does express my particular interest in landscape. After university, I married an exploration geologist whose work took us to various isolated mining towns around Australia, several bush camps. Such places always tend to be in not only remote areas, but very often on the edges of deserts or in fairly scrubby sort of country. I mean, we've just never been posted to somewhere surrounded by magnificent rainforests or anything like that. Our travels have taken us to various environments on different continents, and in the late 1980s we found ourselves living in Denver, Colorado, on account of his work. And so my interest in textile art, which had been creative embroidery up to that stage, then turned to the art form of traditional patchwork and quilting that was so very American, or I thought it would be a very American experience, and I totally immersed myself in that for about 18 months or so, although at the same time I joined the Embroiderers Guild of America. But it was patchwork and quilting that really absorbed me, and over time, particularly learning improvisational patchwork, my original designs flourished, and patchwork and quilting using improvisational techniques kept me busy for a long time. Fast forward to 2020 or so, when I came to live in Uruguay, and I very quickly found that the lovely good quality fabrics that I was used to working with were not available here. Mail order experience was dismal, several shipments didn't turn up, and the customs, the import duties were high. So I began to buy fabric when I left the country and not to bother buying fabric here. But I did see other fabrics that inspired me, and my rule has always been only buy fabric that you love. So I don't remember really what I had in mind when I bought the nylon polyester organza that features on this quilt against a black cotton background, but I'd had it in my stash for some years, maybe 7 or 8 years, when I pulled it out and auditioned it against other fabrics as I planned this work that you see before you today. However, one of the clinchers to that was, I suppose, that I had in my extensive thread collection several reels of this pale gold thread that I used to hand stitch all those shapes down. There is some black hand quilting too, but it is all entirely handmade. And you might say, well, why handmade since you've done so much quilting with machine? Well, in the last 5 or 6 years, maybe 7 years, hand stitch has really become a lot more dominant in my art and has become a principal element in my surface designs. And so it's all hand stitch. I haven't done any serious piecing for a long time. And the combination of love of fabric, the necessity to adapt what I want, and to find materials in which to express myself result in this abstract landscape textures. With the word to diagrams, the quilt that I'm sitting in front of, the units, the repeat units in that, an example of how far my diagrams have come. A favourite little unit that I've repeated over and over again has become very, very abstract. It used to be curved and then jagged, and now it's just wavy stripes, but it began as a little landscape diagram, and I'm sure I'll be using it for years to come. So thank you for your time and interest in my quilt. I'd love to hear from you anytime you want to correspond more about my work, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the Quilt National 23 collection.